As per the NASSCOM Startup Report of 2017, fintech and payments continue to be one of the sectors that saw the maximum number of new startup additions as well as the flow of venture capital. The startup in focus on the show today is Singapore-based InstaReM. It's a cross-border payments company which in November received the regulatory approval from the Reserve Bank of India to facilitate overseas remittances from India. But that's not InstaReM's only India connect. Its India-born and bred founder, Prajit Nanu, has an interesting startup story. Shruti Mishra discovered this in her conversation with him. Take a look.
It's a very funny story. Sending money out of India is extremely difficult, and I was trying to book a villa for a friend's bachelor party, and it was such a difficult process. So I called up my bank and they sent so much forms to me saying, hey, can you fill this, can you fill this, can you fill that? And I said, no, I don't want to fill that much. And it was a small amount of money, like about 30,000 rupees. So I said, out of sheer frustration, I updated social media to see what can be done and has anyone done anything. A friend of mine reached out, he said, listen, I'm in Thailand right now, and I can send the money locally. And you give me money into my local account and let's just square it off and no fees, nothing for us. I said, fantastic, right? We did that, money reached the guy the same day and everything was beautiful. And then I think it was the worst holiday I've ever had because you can imagine, right? You go on a holiday party and last thing you want to sit in a room and think that, can we take this concept and scale it?
What sets you apart from the other remittances companies in the world?
So what happens today, if you ever walk into a bank, you will see a bank rate or a FX rate. That's not what you see on Economic Times.
Yeah.
It's very different, that's very high. And you wonder like, what is this? Like this is not. So what we've done is that we provide significant transparency when it comes to FX. We'll give you the exact mid-market rate at what banks kind of transact at. And we charge you a percentage of the amount.
Okay.
So globally, World Bank says that the average cost of a payment is 8.5%. What InstaReM charges is 0.5%. That's it. Yeah. So that's incredibly low.
Yeah.
Second is speed. We've made payments much faster. We do 24/7 payments. You can send a payment from Australia to India within few minutes.
Now you charge less than banks and traditional remittances services. How do you make money? What is your revenue model?
So I think the most important thing is our transparency. So we charge you 0.5% of the amount you're sending. That's it. So if you're sending $1,000, your fee is $5. That's it. No other fee, no hidden fee. How we make money? So let's look at any of our competitors who are brick and mortar. So you actually go and give money to an agent. He takes the money, he gives you a code. Then that money is through electronically is transmitted to somebody else, say in India, who also has a code. Basically, you go and give the code to that guy and he'll give out the money. So you see there are various agents using the whole network. And in our case, we don't have any networks or any agents, etc. I collect the money from you from a bank and I deposit the money into a bank account of your choice. So basically, I've removed the whole agent network as part of a business. And that's why our costs are really low. We make decent enough margins to make this a real business. So it's not a business where we are kind of breaking a bank to kind of make a transaction.
What are the trends that you're seeing that are driving Forints remittances business in India?
Yeah, I think most important thing is internet's completely connected the world, right? So today an Australian company will have his social media managed out of India, right? And he has to be paid.
Yeah.
Now, that whole payment is done through our platform. That makes us very happy. We've got a lot of people who run various kinds of technology setups, social media. People have offshore subsidiaries. They're paying their payroll, consultants, social media consultants. So if you can be a freelancer who wants to get paid, you can be paid via our platform. So these are some of the trends which are actually driving business payments into India. And I think it's been very interesting to see that before us, it used to cost 4 to 6% to take money out and convert it. And now we are doing it at a 0.5% fee.
Now, InstaReM has raised over $18 million till date. Take us through your investors, partners, and how have they helped you scale up?
We raised $500,000 from Rocket Internet when we were two guys on a PowerPoint. They were the only guys, believe me, they were the only guys who were ready to cut a check. We were two guys, both with about 15 years of experience. Both had done well in corporate careers. We went to a lot of VCs and they said, no, I think it's too early. We don't like the business. Or larger players will kill you. But Rocket Internet came in. Within 2 weeks, we had the money. And that kind of gave us the massive surge. And since then, we've raised money from Vertex Ventures, which is the venture capital arm of Temasek. Temasek is Singapore government's investment arm. Vertex brings a lot of stability. In fact, even today, if I have anything to, if I have a question in terms of what path should I follow, I would actually go to them and say that, is this the right path to follow, etc. So they add a lot of value to the business in terms of network connections and helping us raise follow-on rounds. We've got Fullerton Financial Holding, which is another subsidiary of Temasek, and Rocket Internet, of course, came in.
Now, you recently raised $13 million in funding. What do you plan to do with the investments?
I think largely the investments will go in helping us build our business. Our business currently, I would still say we are very small from a global perspective, but now we've reached the scale in terms of licensing. Now what happens is that now we're going to invest money in Europe to basically build our brand, to build a consumer business. We're going to invest money in the US. One of the interesting businesses which we have is banks today at the back end use InstaReM to make payouts.
Okay.
So banks, instead of competing with us, I think we've formulated a great story where they use us at the back end.
And they're partnering with you?
They are partnering with it. And so that business requires a lot of money because we have a massive risk appetite in that business to kind of drive volumes, etc.
Are you profitable today?
We are transactional profitable. So what I mean by that is every transaction I do is profitable. What we need is scale because we've built offices in multiple markets, and once we hit a scale, we'll hit profitability. So we are looking at profitability Q4 of next year.
How many customers do you have globally, and what is your average transaction size?
We have about 100,000 customers, and our average transaction size is about $2,000. Now the interesting part of our average transaction size is much higher than competitors. So we majorly have white-collar customers who are sending large ticket payments, coming back, family maintenance, etc. So that's the primary transactions what we do.
You also work with SMEs. What percentage of your customer do they constitute?
So today they are about 20%, but honestly we are trying to push that more and more. And I'll tell you why. Consumer, which is the individual business, most of the money services business, online digital players like us, have a large share of the chunk. So bank is a smaller share. But when it comes to SMEs, 90% of the book is still with banks. So that business is something which we are really pushing harder for. But the problem with the SME is that they trust the bank a bit too much, and then they don't really want to kind of work with players like us. But that change is happening. We're seeing that change happen, but we need to really push that change much faster.
Between now and 2020, what are the major trends that you see across cross-borders?
I think one thing you'll see is a lot of use of blockchain. So blockchain is emerging as a technology which will help us reduce the cost even further and simplify the whole process even more.
My final question to you, what are the future plans? What are the kind of volumes that you're targeting? And also, are you eyeing a public listing?
By 2020, we intend to list publicly. I think we are, so next year we plan to break even, and gives us about a 12 to 24 month window to actually plan for an IPO, etc.
Yeah.
If you really look at fintechs like us, right, there are not many who have actually gone and IPO'd.
Well, that's pretty quick. You started in 2014 and 2020, you're eyeing a listing.
Correct. I think it's, from our perspective, I think it's a way we are giving it back to our investors as well as we strongly believe the model is sustainable and long-term. So it's not a short-term model which will basically kind of impact and it does not have the right margins, etc. Right now, our focus is all about scaling. It's all about getting markets running, really differentiating our proposition. We have a large Indian community who uses us every month on month to send. We've got an active customer base. I have customers who write emails to me saying that, hey, can you build a new feature which will do this for me? So that's a great engagement we have. Now, how do you take that, scale it, add new markets, bring new banks to the platform? So that's the next 24 months for us. But it'll be a great ride, looking forward for it.
With that, it is time for us to wrap up this edition of Young Turks. Tell us what you thought of our show. Write into us, youngturks@nw18.com. That's our email address. You can also tune in to our Facebook and Twitter feed for news and updates. Till next week, from all of us here, goodbye and many thanks for watching.
Celebrating 16 years of Young Turks.